Hello, uh, welcome back. This is the part two of blockchain fundamentals. Myself, Shreshth Arora, from DSC TIET. The presentation content credits goes to 101blockchains.com. And today, if you haven't watched the first video, please go ahead and watch the first video well, and then go ahead with this video. Now, as we have discussed all the ideas and the constructs that are required in the development of how this blockchain works, we would be talking about somewhere how blockchain, the essentials of blockchain and how it exactly transforms the world, how transactions, how things happen, how it's changing our world, what are smart contracts, some blockchain terms that we haven't gone in depth in, and how to get hang of it. Basically, if you want to go in development, I would be giving you details about it. So this is a complete series. It's a complete series, and we hope you like it. So the part two. The abstract is that basically what is the blockchain technology, blockchain terms, smart contracts as we covered earlier, the blockchain, how blockchain is changing the digital arena, and how it will change your lives. Right now, the benefits of blockchain technology: faster settlement than manual process of validation. It is at very big scales. It is increase in network capacity. It's more secure because of the cryptography that is involved. How we checked out how we cannot remove things from it or change in it, and how it's decentralized so that nobody is in control. The single entity is in control of the whole system. It's shared. That means everyone has their own copies of the ledger, and it's immutable. That transaction cannot be done if they're already on the blockchain. Now, we're coming on the next part. There are two types of blockchains. One is a public blockchain, the network design you can see over on the right side. The examples of it are Ethereum and uh, Ripple, and the other ones are private blockchains. These are made by consortiums and companies for handling their own confidential data. The idea is to have two different separate blockchains over here so that they can have different types of systems. So the centralized, the two types of decentralizations that are seeing over here. One with that is public, that anybody can access the ledger right now. Anybody can read the Bitcoin, which how much Bitcoins you have, how much Bitcoins XYZ have. You can really check it on the Bitcoin website. You can check how much Ethereum the other person has. Basically, you can know everything in the public blockchain. You can know, but you can't edit, right? From the private blockchain, you can't know everything. Every entity gets only access to certain parts. For example, the supply chain has to be made in the in distribution management of XYZ product. So a private blockchain would be a better example, where Hyperledger Fabric or Hyperledger technologies, which are really good at making private blockchains, are the permission blockchain. Basically, someone can have an access, some people cannot have an access, and that's how it works. So every X entity is able to access by A person, Y entity is only accessible by A and Y. So the rules of this come from smart contracts. Now, as you see there, we are showing about three types of network over here: a centralized network, a decentralized network, and a distributed network. A centralized network is where, like, you use Paytm, or you may be using WhatsApp, or you may be using XYZ applications. They are all right now, mostly of them are networks where a single entity communicates over them. For example, when you send a message on Instagram, it goes through the Instagram server, then it sends to the person on the other end, and then a line is made. So if the central entity goes down, your message doesn't get delivered, right? In a decentralized network, though, no, none single entity is over the control. You see, but six different entities are making the whole network work. So, and there's subgroups in them. So, if one goes down, the whole network won't go down, but some part of it would go down. So, this is how a decentralized network works. But a distributed network is where every node is independent and interconnected with one another. So if even one node goes down, maybe one system goes down, other nodes will still be able to communicate because they're interconnected already. Now, I would like to introduce some must know blockchain terms. First is airdrop. Airdrop is a process of distributed free cryptocurrencies to the general public. Altcoin. Altcoin is a cryptocurrency basically other than Bitcoin. Yeah, so every currency, cryptocurrency that you might see, like Ethereum, Ripple, or Quorum, whatever you see. Bitcoin was first developed by Satoshi Nakamoto. It's a currency that doesn't require a centralized authority to work a function. Basically, the whole idea that we have been discussing all over. DAO stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. A DApp means a decentralized application. For example, now blockchain is just not limited to currencies. It can be for any type of transaction. Any type of transaction. For example, I can take storage services on your system, and I can pay you back in another in a very currencies thing. Not the currency thing, but you can think of it like entity exchanging system. And ERC20 is a technical standard for issuing on Ethereum blockchain. Either is the currency of, like, it's like the fuel, but somewhere it can be used as a that currency, but other ways it can be used to deploy smart contracts. Fiat is the government controlled currency and is declared as legal tender. ICO stands for initial coin offering, which means that is used by startups to raise funds for selling tokens. A mainnet is the working blockchain product that also provides the ability to transfer digital currencies between users in blockchain environment. And some must know terms. The 51% attack. The is a common vulnerability in blockchain technologies. It is exploited by a group of miners if they control 51% of the hash rate of the whole network. That's the idea represented. A blockchain network can go down. That's the problem. Uh, Basically, that's the control of the network, because becomes so it becomes nearly becomes when 50% 51% becomes like it's centralized. 51% is centralized. So if something is 51% of centralization, it's controlled by them. Utility token is a token that has utility attached to it. They are for accessing a product or service. Basic. Okay, smart contracts explain. For example, I'm you are a person who is doing some kind of research, and you have some kind of data you want to exchange over a network. So you want to exchange another party some kind of entity, a barter system you have made. So he's going to give you some service, you're going to register some kind of research paper. So what you do guys decide, you have created your blockchain, or which you send one guy sends over a research paper which is encoded in the blockchain. Like, instead of the transaction history, you insert over a file, and then it goes over to the other end, and then the other person sends you the other data. So the smart contracts help you validate both the ends. It means when the a contract is created between the two parties, both parties remain anonymous. The contract is stored on the public ledger. This is for Ethereum basically, and when you send something, it evokes the triggering of events. The contracts are self-executing. The code is generally written in Solidity language, and regulators can use and analyze all the activities and predict market uncertainty and trend. The three entities can involve three different stuff. How do smart contracts work? They generally match make the buyer and the seller. The transaction happens. The digital assets. The assets can be anything digitally. Okay, they can be transferred between the two entities. So the smart contract removes any third entity involved in the whole system. I repeat, Every third entity installed, third party is not no third party is required in the system. It's all automated and settlement through the code of the atonement that has been generated between the two. What are the advantages of smart contracts? It's totally transparent, no miscommunication, efficient performance, no paper, no backup is required to make because everybody on the system network is having a copy of it. So if you lose out, you can ask someone else to give you a copy, and there are protocols to get that thing done too. And the outcomes are guaranteed. So basically, it's disadvantage of smart contracts. Confidentiality, error, and rogue contracts. For example, if I deploy a smart contract, say for example, I am a big consortium which is handling a lot of companies, and they have decided to make a blockchain. If it's a public blockchain, then the proceedings of which would be public, which would not be liked by any consortium. So obviously, we do not want it to work on that way. And error detection is quite high. If it errors up, you cannot change one way. You have to write a new smart contract and have to do a transaction over the new one. So the whole point you get over here that smart contracts are happening on a public ledger. The private ones are designed in such a way, the blockchains, that all the rules are written on the first head. But for example, Hyperledger Fabric. Hyperledger Fabric is a technology, open source technology made by Hyperledger group of companies that is mostly funded by IBM, where they bring together where they have made a lot of products, but Fabric is the main one that is rising a lot of these days. And Fabric has like you can push a code over there, chain code there. Over this, the smart contracts are called as chain code, and it's a private network so that you can have that. Now you know a lot that blockchain is quite overhyped, right? Like every nook and corner, there's someone talking about how blockchain is fluctuating. Bitcoin reached $10,000, $20,000 today. Now this is the rate of market, but right now I want to read this code. The truth in no online database will replace your daily newspaper. No CD-ROM can take place a competent teacher, and then no computer network will change the way government works. So right now, computer networks are battling governments technically how the money thing should work out. So expect we have over the over the working of it timeline. There's some expectations, there's certain disappointments, and then the production happens. We are somewhere in the middle where the disappointment has hit because, for example, see in India, there are a lot of laws that are not supportive of the fact that blockchain is if you're using a Bitcoin or currency right now, right? And no startups in our country are doing initial coin offerings at a huge scale. It's mostly for it mostly happens in the other areas, but in India it's not the case. But for example, uh, but yeah, there's a lot of things because when government starts losing its control over a currency, why would they like? For example, you see, so we have hit a disappointment part over here, but somewhere changes would happen, and I'm very optimistic about the technology because it has a lot of potential to really change the way you and I really interact in the world. So there's some verticals I have to discuss that right now blockchain industry was just sounding like a currency thing. No, it's not. It can be applied to any domain possible, as you can see over there in this slide. It can be media, law, transportation, human rights, because you have to think in that manner of what kind of stuff you want to put in the instead of the transaction part. For example, I want to handle transportation or maybe health. Transportation, how can it be health? For example, at every check post at a bus stop, the bus stop registers or on the blockchain that I have picked this person, and that registers over there, and then you see, and it registers on the blockchain, and you can see the history of who is getting up on the bus and getting down, and nobody can change that fact. Or maybe your attendance can be on a blockchain system, or in your universities, colleges, or workplaces, or maybe healthcare records can be placed. So that's the whole idea, that a chain of non-changeable data, right? Where because of the network, leading sectors are a lot, like supply chains, for example, as XYZ products gets made at one point, and a job is done at second point, third point is done another thing, the transactions, transportation happens from A to B to C to D of supply chains, so you can manage it on everyone. I would recommend that it would be better if it's made on a private network, supply chains, because they are quite sensitive data. uh, the fintech is a lot, like fintech we talked a lot, retail, shipping, mining, healthcare, insurance, as I already told you. And you can already see go there that how things are going. Apple has patented their own blockchain technology for their time stamping data. Facebook has their own. Google is making their own. UPS is making their own. Every company right now is making their own kind of system for making their blockchains for their own internal working, because it is taking the industry to a new level. Now comes a new idea, that is Web 3.0. Web 3.0 is the third generation of internet services where the devices are connected in a decentralized network rather than depending on a central server. As I already talked about what centralized, decentralized, and distributed networks are, it's just that the decentralized networks are very centrally dependent, and we want to not have an entity which fails, so we have created a decentralized network. The new internet is user centric, more secure, private, and better connected. We have already talked in the terms of how cryptography is helping, how in depth the hash functions are working. The backbone you have understood, but going over making something over it again and creating already frameworks exist which would can help you in growing up, because as we have already talked, like Ethereum and Hyperledger Fabric, you cannot make smart contracts in Bitcoin because it was designed initially for that way. It was just designed for small transactions to happen, as it is mentioned in its original paper by Satoshi Nakamoto. But I would put the links in the description of both the videos. You can see over there. Uh, the benefits of the Web 3.0. Nobody's in monopoly. Right now, the video that you're watching probably be on YouTube. The YouTube is owned by Google, and most of the stuff that you use today is mostly, like, huge percentage of it's Apple, Google, Facebook, or Amazon. These four companies control a lot of things. I'm not against it, but technically think of them, they're making a monopoly. And that's where this Web 3.0 benefits from. The idea is of anti-monopoly, a pro-privacy, secure network, a data ownership is very strong, no interruption in services because the network can't go down, because every entity on the network would have to go down for your interruption to service, a permissionless blockchain, and ubiquity of your data. Now, the important part is that decentralized networks have no central authority, and the data flow is according to new business models running by distributed applications. So instead of the internet sitting over a central server, the same idea, but I want to represent it on different things. Before, it was a central entity, you talk to that entity and the device responded accordingly. But on a distributed network, everything is processing differently. Now, the Web 3.0 requires some Web 3.0 can build a complete system. This Web 3.0 I wanted to introduce because this it makes a complete new era of how you make use technology, web services. You can make a complete new web service in social networks and exchange services, messaging, storage services. n number of vertical domains, and you can see a lot of icons over there of different products and software that are made by different companies over using Web 3.0 technologies. These are actually changing how the world works right now, because they are trying to make that blockchain thing in a very decentralized manner, and the decentralization is giving boost to these all softwares, so that every entity on the system can interact with other entities instead of central entity. Basically how uh, BitTorrent has impacted the whole world right now. And the same similar way this technology, Web 3.0 technology, aims to do. I have a bonus slide for you. So example I gave you for healthcare system, right? Blockchains for healthcare, they have to store data, right? But datas can be huge, and databases are used for handling it. So I have done a database versus blockchain representation over here, that on the factors of integrity, that database someone is in control, but in blockchains, not not everyone is not not single entity is controlled. Some people like, no central authority has control. The modifying data or assets is nearly impossible in blockchain, but in database anyone can change your data. Do you want anyone to change your medical history? Don't want? Support blockchain. All the data or activities out in the open for everyone, and for database, all the data is or transactions are hidden from each other. Cuts down excessive costing, implements a high cost database. Blockchains are slow. Trust me, they are. But you get a better off, right? You can't edit anything. That what else do you want, man? If you want something that's faster and some singly controllable, go for databases. But if you want something that's very proof, very cryptographically mathy, on whatever you think want, like and nothing can happen to it. Like, lot of things can happen to it, but you can data won't be changed. It's immutable. So you do you want to go that way? Go with blockchains. So there's a choice when designing applications whether you want to go with blockchains or databases. It's suited for organizations where users don't trust each other. Yes, many entities in the system do not trust each other, and for solving that problem, blockchains are here rescue. Suited for organizations where there's a mutual trust. A second type, bonus two. There are four types of tokens I want to discuss. It's currency tokens, asset tokens, utility tokens, and equity tokens. Currency tokens are basically which we discussed in the previous one, Bitcoin one. The second one are asset tokens. They are represented using physical products as assets such as DGX DAO Gold, or utility tokens used for performing any kind of activity with the networks such as Ethereum, or equity tokens. These tokens give us voting rights as share of networks such as LSK. So these are the ideas where voting can be done using blockchain. Thank you for watching, and there's a next video where my friend Kush would be showing you how to code a blockchain, and it's in three parts. We would be this is the next one. The link would be somewhere on screen. Go ahead, give a like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Signing out.